Good morning, YouTube. My name is Amisbro, and this is episode 41 of the anime review series. This time we will be taking a look at Season 2 of Cute High Earth Defense Club, otherwise referred to as Cute High Earth Defense Club Love Love. Now, when we last left our boys, they had just defeated, if you want to use that term, Zundar and his cohorts, and saved the Academy from basically the tyrannical rule of the Student Council. And we also saw the rekindling of a friendship between Kenshiro Kusatsu and Atsushi. Cool, right? Well, this time we have a totally new problem on our hands. The Beppu twins decided they were going to make an appearance, and they have their own animal mascot. His name is Dacha. But how do they handle things around the area? Well, how do we explain this one? Whereas the Student Council would use Zundar to shoot a needle at their victim when it came time, the Beppu twins would literally drag their victim to a theater, perform a song, no kidding, and then shoot Dacha at them, and they would become whatever the monster of the week was going to be. That was literally the way the show worked between the two seasons. Those are your differences, and there are a lot of similarities. For example, when you get to about episode 6 or 7 of the season, they do have an obligatory episode where there's a fight between two of the members, and they also have an episode where, well, pretty much nothing happens. It's much ado about nothing, literally. It is a 12-episode season, so all the episodes are pretty much self-contained. This is what's interesting, though, if you think about it. The way animes tend to work, they will tell you a self-contained story as if it was syndication, but it's one big giant story arc from episode 1 to episode whatever by the end. And yes, kids, that is literally the way. If you ever watched a syndicated version of a game show versus a actual network version, they're literally two different formats. One is a self-contained episode, the other one can overlap. So how do we actually compare this season to last season? Well, this season was actually, if not as absurd, it was probably more absurd than the last one. That can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Consider this. Yes, it's a slice of life, so it's supposed to be a comedy. But it's also supposed to be, basically, if you took Sailor Moon and you made it a magical boy series. Because, unless I'm mistaken, we don't have many of those in Japan. So, to have one, and by the way, this has actually gone 2 seasons now, a third maybe? We'll see. But you've gone 2 seasons. The first season, it didn't take itself nearly as seriously as it was supposed, as possible, which was good. It was a parody. This season, I think they, in some cases, and maybe it's just me, but they tried so hard to be a parody that they got too absurd for their own good a little bit. Don't get me wrong, the story was good, there's just one issue. When you get to about episode 7 or 8, the big reveal of who is the main villain in the series, which we already know, but the main villains revealing themselves to your main protagonists, it's kind of weird because they did it that early, and then you're trying to figure out why would you do that. Well, okay, here was the story arc. The story arc last season was, for the most part, because Kenshiro had an issue with one of the battle lovers. That was Atsushi. Okay, and they played that story up all the way through. The difference is that it's easier to play that story up when the two characters know the issue. When you have a situation where you have an antagonist that has a grudge against a protagonist, but the protagonist is literally oblivious to it and they can't grasp what's going on, that's a problem. Because you're literally, in some respects, taking away the edge of the story. It's okay to have Yumoto be oblivious. That's fine. It's kind of part of his charm. But when the issue isn't really being addressed directly between the two, as pronounced and as prolonged as it was in season 1, you kind of forget, like, okay, the antagonists keep addressing that they can't stand Yumoto because of Goro. Okay, but they were addressing it half the time when Yumoto wasn't even in the room, when he wasn't even in the scene. So to have them not addressing the issue, because even indirectly when they were in the same area, Kenshiro was having his issues with Atsushi, and they were more pronounced. It was like they expect you to know, which is fine. They expect you to know this is the reason that the antagonists are going to go after this person. Well, okay, but you can't assume that everybody's going to be focused on that. Okay? So you have to make them focus on it. You have to get their focus away from whatever to that main plot point. Yes, it's a comedy. We understand this. But it's also still a magical boy anime. Therefore, you still have an antagonist and a protagonist, and you still have to get their issues to come together by the time the end of the season comes around. The thing is because of the reveal they did like 3 or 4 episodes beforehand, it kind of makes you go, okay, we're addressing it now. Could we have addressed it before and gone, okay, cool, we're good? Because people complained about the pacing of Return of Kings for the K Project series. How they said that it wasn't building properly for them, or the episodes were, there was a lot of much ado about nothing in the episodes. But they were building to the conflict that was to happen in the second half of the season. You go 12 episodes here in this series, and what happens is you have this half, which the antagonists are telling you what the issue is, but because they're not directly verbalizing it to the protagonists, there's the issue. You can't write the story one way and expect us to think that the protagonists, who in some cases are a little bit more oblivious, because it's not just Yumoto, it's pretty much everybody, you can't expect them to go, oh shit, that's who we're supposed to face. Because even in the last season, like I said, they found a way to still... Hell, it was what? Like episode 2 or 3? They said the student council is taking on the battle lovers. That was beautiful. That was brilliant. Okay? Because we knew for the next 9 episodes, this is what's going down. While we knew what was going to go down this season, we didn't have that really direct contact a lot of the time, I felt. And I still like the season. So, here's where it gets goofy. You think I'm like trashing it, but I'm not. I liked the season a lot. But if you compare it to the way they told the story in season 1, that's the problem. I believe it was Studio Comet this time that did the animation, and they did a hell of a job. I think when they realized they were going to be doing a second season, and they gave the show a bigger budget, you could really tell that they looked at the models and they said, holy shit, we have to touch these up. And they did. And they looked beautiful. And my one issue, when I say they looked really good, they really look good when you look at like the battle lovers, and when you look at Wombat, and when you look at Dadacha, and when you looked at Zundar, who makes his reappearance. Is it just me, or when I looked at the Beppu twins, Akio and Yuko, I believe they were? Somebody will correct me. No, Haru, I believe. Haruhiko? Which, by the way, I could never tell them apart the whole season. I swear to you, I could never tell them apart. I'm looking at them like, okay. But they had like what we sometimes refer to in anime as the yaoi chin. For those who don't know what that means, it basically, here's your chin, but they draw it to a point. If you want a good example of this, go look at the animation for Galkin Handsome that's coming out. There's a lot of it in there. They literally drew the chins to a point. So you're sitting there going, oh boy, okay. This is going to be kooky. But that was kind of weird, because like I'm looking at like, you did so good drawing everybody else. Now I'm looking at this and I'm like, what happened? Did you run out of budget or what? And they improved it greatly, but it's still a little bit of an issue. So, we talked about the story, we talked about its pacing, we talked about the animation. It's weird because, there was one other part of the story that's kind of unnerving. Early in the series, or in the season, they have the student council go away. They don't make their reappearance till episode, what, 11? Yet, excuse me, yet they're put in the opening intro, so you already knew they were going to be there. It's just, how are you going to bring them back, and how are you going to reintroduce them? It was kind of weird the way they did it, but I was actually okay with it because I actually like the student council a lot. But maybe that's just me. And the other thing that kind of bummed me out, well, I won't spoil that, but let's just say I wish they had more of an involvement in the ending than they got. because you build them and build. You were sort of building to that point, and then when we get to it, it's like they don't get to do anything. God damn. All right. Now, with all this said, I can still recommend this particular season, but it's weird. Usually, season 1 is sort of seeing what works and what doesn't, and then season 2 improves on it. This time we went backwards. Season 1 was the really good one. Season 2 kind of made a little bit of a step back, but it was still actually pretty decent. So, what I'm going to say is, you should be checking out Q Tire Defense Club Season 2. If you have not done so already, it is 12 episodes. It is up on, I believe it is on at least Crunchyroll. Might also be on Funimation. Actually, go check Crunchyroll because of that, the way the agreement works now. So, if you want to see it subbed, go check there. Dub, you may be able to get it on Funimation. So, that is the story with this series. I will see you tomorrow night when we go look at Season 1 of Tales of Hysteria X, or specifically Cross. That's actually what they call it. So, I will see you then. You all have a great night. Bye-bye.